A warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are embarking on an exciting journey to explore the impactful ITSM trends of current decade 2024. And we've got two awesome speakers lined up. First up, Karen Ferris, a renowned person in service management and organizational change. Karen has an illustrious career, including serving as a director at KarenFerris.com, Magenta Consulting. Karen has authored 7 books on leadership, change, remote working, and workforce resilience, etc. Her dedication to the industry has earned her prestigious awards such as Lifetime Achievement Award from ITSM Australia in 2014. And she's also been recognized as one of the top 25 thought leaders in service management by HDI for 7 consecutive years. We're honored to have Karen to share her insight with us today. We welcome you, Karen. And joining Karen, we have our second speaker, Zefan. Zefan is one of our product experts. He's a very passionate in creating resources that empower IT service desk professionals with best practices for optimizing ITSM solutions. From self-assessment toolkits to detailed guides, engaging blogs, Zefan's dedication to education shines through in all of his works. We are thrilled to have Zefan on board to enrich our discussion with his expertise. To valued audience, to once again, thank you for joining us. So I'm done taking your time. So over to you, Karen. I can start from there.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. Welcome, everybody. Good morning from Melbourne, Australia. So as we've just said, we're going to explore the ITSM trends of the current decade. So let me share what I'd like to explore with you this morning. So I want to look at some of the trends that people are talking about and being written about right now. And I want to do a deep dive into 4 of those. These are just my 4 that I think are going to have the biggest impact on IT service management going forward. And we'll wrap up at the end with the need for organizational change management. And I'll explain why that is so important, regardless of which trend it is that you decide to leverage. We'll do a summary and then we'll open up for questions and answers. Please put any questions as we go into the questions and we'll address those at the end. So let's look at some of the trends, and there's lots of them, and you may want to add to this list. The big one, of course, that we're talking about right now is Gen AI, Generative Artificial Intelligence. And the challenge for organizations is to work out how to use it to get improved productivity and produce more meaningful work. There's software as a service management, and people are looking for help to manage spending, allocation of cost, and to reduce costs. So our customers are expecting functional, rich products that will help them to manage and report on their software in the cloud. Value demonstrations getting a lot of attention at the moment. And this is about us, IT service management and IT, demonstrating that we are delivering business value. So we need to stop talking about value and actually starting to demonstrate it and make sure we're aligned with the business value perspectives. DEX, the digital employee experience. This is all about how employees experience workplace technology, but also the way that IT and IT service management works with employees. Enterprise service management, it might be a surprise to see that one on the list. We've been talking about that since about 2008, but it's still being listed as a trend. And that says to me that more maturity in this area is needed. And it's more than just sharing IT service management capabilities with other business lines, which we've been doing, but it must be a corporate capability. And we must incorporate AI, employee experience, and value to ensure that the improvements that we are seeing can be extended to other areas of the company, of the organization. Sustainability is not going away, and we need to tackle the 2 main sources of IT-related carbon emissions, and that's the IT-owned hardware, including our data center equipment and workstations, and cloud services sourced from other vendors. So the pressure is still on to do more. Another big one we're talking about is people. about people centricity, putting people at the center of everything that we do. And many of you will probably have seen in the media, bringing humanity back into IT. So people are starting to demand that we have a look at this area. SIAM, Service Integration and Management, again, it's not new. It emerged from the UK in the late 2000s, but it's still a trend that's being talked about, again, telling me that we need to mature that practice. And remote work, a big one that's being discussed right now, and this is going to continue to shape the IT service management industry with the need to focus on flexible remote and hybrid workplaces. And the important thing to note about this list is that we need to do more than just look at them and go, wow, can we look at everything that we could do? The key is to look at the one that's going to give you the biggest return on investment. What's the one problem that you are trying to resolve, and which of these could you leverage to do that? So I'm going to look at 4 of these trends: Gen AI, value, people, and remote work. They're the ones I personally believe are having the biggest impact, or will have the biggest impact going forwards. So, generative AI. Now, many companies are finding themselves right now at a crossroads. It's not just an emerging technology, it's here and it's reshaping everything that we do. And there's a lot of talk. Now, Gartner, as many of you will know, have a hype cycle for these new emerging trends. And in 2023, they said that Gen AI had reached its peak of inflated expectation. And now in 2024, it's in the trough of disillusionment. And this means that interest is dropping as implementations fail. So organizations are struggling to leverage Gen AI and are stumbling and failing, and therefore feeling like giving up. So service management must adopt and implement Gen AI to drive productivity and increase efficiencies. For those that do it and can get it right, I really think this is going to be a game changer. So it brings a lot of advantages for us. We've got advanced data processing, intelligent automation, and predictive analysis. So it allows service management and IT support to be far more proactive and identify potential issues before they occur. I mean, yes, we've done trend analysis and we're trying to predict things, but Gen AI is pulling from so many sources of data that the power is in that ability to predict more accurately what could potentially fail and avoid impacting business continuity. So some of the uses of Gen AI, well, the big one comes from the use of the large language model. So we're looking at Gen AI and the advancements in the large language model, LLM. It offers a great chatbot experience. And chatbots we've probably all interfaced with in the past or even today are essentially glorified answering machines. Whereas the likes now of ChatGPT, Bart, or Bing can engage in real conversations responding to the prompts and inputs that we provide. So there's a clear shortcut to be realized for service management, especially at the service desk. And some organizations are either aiming for or have already implemented workflows where a significant portion of it, if not the entire process, is uploaded to a LLM-generated chatbot or email responses. Now, there is an air of caution here, and I don't know if you've had much interface with ChatGPT. I certainly have, and I've had some very interesting conversations that have really gone down the wrong rabbit hole. So we have to make sure that the workflows we put in place ensures that LLM does not generate what we call hallucinated answers. We talk about ChatGPT having hallucinations. So imagine this scenario. You report the loss of your mobile phone. And instead of receiving an acknowledgement that it's going to be replaced and triggering a workflow behind the scenes to ship you a new phone, the chatbot suddenly engages you in an endless discussion of how to communicate without a phone. That wasn't what you wanted. That's not what you prompted for. So we have to be really careful and make sure we get all the algorithms right. But Gen AI and LLM can increase the service request experience massively. So if you think of something simple as a room request, it's more than just a chatbot saying, yeah, room 6472 and 89 are available between these times. It can tell you a lot more about the rooms. It can select a room based on your requirements and then suggest additions such as catering and booking it for the required time. So let me give an example. So I say I've got a team workshop in the office on Monday. There'll be 5 people. Chatbot says, give me their names. I'll grant them office access. So now we're getting access to the office, checking their swipe cards, etc. If they're coming in, do you want me to book a room for you? So yes, book the room. I tell Chatbot what we need and who the people are. So Chat says to me, the room Moana is available from this time, and it's near where you usually book, close to the cafeteria. So it's using intelligence and past data to inform decision making. So yes, book it, reminded about the catering. Chat says, understood. And it tells me what it's going to provide. And it's saying that it's noticed that the people in the meeting usually opt for that sort of menu. So again, it's pulling data from different sources to inform what the catering should be. I say, yes, do it. And he then asks me about dietary requirements as a prompt for me there to say, I'll get back to you. So the chatbot says, summarized all the services. This is where you can find out more and go and amend it. The chat's going to come back and prompt me about the dietary requirements. So really powerful, looking at access and catering and location of the room, etc. So very powerful workflows behind it. We can also use it for knowledge generation, incident summarization, predictive maintenance, as I inferred about before. How do we get this right? And as I've said, we're in the trough of disillusionment. And the first thing we must do, and this is the stumbling block, is we must have a strategy. Gen AI can do so much. There is so much potential that we get lost in the opportunities, if you like, and then we don't realize anything. So we need to focus on what is the problem? What's the one thing that you want to resolve and solve? And then look at how Gen AI can help. Rather than trying to, solve world hunger, what's the one problem that you would like to use Gen AI to fix? And then consider your timeline. This is a critical decision. This is a fast-moving space, and there's going to be substantial financial investment and resource commitments. Therefore, when is the right time for your organization to do this? So think about those factors and how you're going to get from A to B. So you know where the problem you want to solve, so put in place now a plan to get there. So all of the steps you're going to need, how you're going to measure progress, etc. And there's 3 pillars you need to think about. One is your data strategy. So what is the quality of your data and where is it? Because this is the fuel for AI. And if you have bad data, you're going to get bad decisions. The algorithm, do you have the skills? This is at the heart of any AI application. Do you have the skills or access to the expertise to design, develop, and validate the AI algorithms required? And what's your strategy for infrastructure? So implementing the AI systems requires suitable infrastructure. So you're going to need computing power for processing all of this data and the information. And where you're going to have that, are you going to use cloud? And what's the current capacity? So you need a good infrastructure strategy to support the AI initiative. So the second trend I wanted to look at is value demonstration. And we hear a lot of talk about value, and we're not seeing a lot of value demonstrated. And, IT is still often seen as a cost center, keeping the lights on. And never more than before has IT service management been asked to demonstrate value. And it was ITIL 4 that introduced the principle focus on value, which came out of the ITIL practitioner publication, of which I was one of the co-authors. And we've used service management tools, whatever platforms, whatever tools, whatever reporting, whatever Power BI we're using, etc., to generate report after report to show how we're performing against our SLA targets, for example. And often this was data for data's sake, a big focus on operational focused metrics as opposed to those demonstrating value. So we could say things like, we have resolved X number of calls at the service desk. But what does that mean to Mary in finance, who's been waiting for her printer to be fixed for 2 weeks? What does value look like for her? So we need to move on. And as ITIL 4 said, everything that the organization does needs to map directly or indirectly to value for the stakeholders. That's our consumers, our customers, our constituents, our employees. And the focus on value principle encompasses many perspectives, including the experience of customers and users. So the question we need to be asking is, what does the business stakeholder view as value? What does that mean to them? So we need to be having the conversation, involve the business relationship managers or your customer representatives, and talk to the business, find out what value means to them. So this is the question: what are the perceived benefits, usefulness, and importance of something? So keep asking that the question: what are the perceived benefits, usefulness, and importance of the service desk? What's the benefit, usefulness, and importance of service level management? And just keep asking. So these are just some examples. We often think of, revenue and profit and risk. But what about if we're in manufacturing? Value could be measured by the level of lost output, and associated revenue contributed to IT issues. So think of a car production line and a drop in the vehicles leaving the production line due to IT issues. So how can a reduction in those IT issues improve our level of output and therefore associated revenue? We could do the same in healthcare. What's the level of unwanted scenarios, e.g. a patient death, that could be attributed to an IT failure? So by removing those failures and therefore the unwanted scenarios, we can demonstrate value that we're adding. Customer satisfaction is can be a measure of value, but treat it with caution. Make sure you're measuring the right thing. So customer satisfaction with the service desk does not necessarily mean they're happy with what they get from IT. So think about what it is you're measuring. And also employee experience. Can you measure the reduction in lost productivity by an employee due to an IT issue? And therefore reducing the issues increases the value to employees. So think about what you're measuring on an ongoing basis and keep having those conversations with your stakeholders, with your customers, with your consumers, with your constituents, with your employees. What does value mean to them and how are you going to measure it? The third area I want to talk about was people. something that I'm very passionate about. Every company can exist without technology, but it can't exist without people. And employee centricity and employee experience management are now being talked about a lot and are going to be critical to the success of IT service management now and into the future. And what people centricity means is that we must put people at the center of everything that we do. At the center of everything that we do, and actively seek feedback on how we can improve. Now, that isn't necessarily something new. We've been talking about, talking to people and finding out what it is they want and getting their feedback for a long time. But with the speed of change and the amount of work and the lack of resources that we may have, we forget to do that and we just forge ahead. And we don't know if we're really giving people a good experience. And one of the things that's also getting talked about now is the employee value proposition. So what is it that you offer, or an organization offers employees? And it's no longer just about pay and benefits. They're important things, absolutely. But now employees, when they're looking at an employer, are saying, can I have a flexibility, a work-life balance, and an engagement that supports my lifestyle? And these are things that IT and IT service management are going to have to support. They want an organization that will prioritize their physical and mental well-being. They want work that is intrinsically motivating. They want to have a sense of meaning and a sense of purpose, work that actually means something. They want a connection to a community, both in and outside of the workplace. And they want defined career paths, and they want to see that there's opportunities for growth and development. So that's a very different employee value proposition than we've seen previously. And a lot of that's come about from what I call the great reflection. We talked about the great resignation post-COVID. I think there's also been a great reflection on what's really important to people. And the right employee value proposition will attract and retain talent. So that's absolutely important to service management. And we need to put people at the center of everything that we do. So how does service management contribute to the people-centric culture that we need? So we need to hear people's sentiments and needs before we make decisions, and implementing change and then hear from them again. And I'll talk about more of this when I talk about organizational change management. Ongoing, how's it going? What do you need? How does it feel? And we often talk about, personas, and we say, what are they saying? What are they feeling? Who are they talking to? What are they doing? So we need to co-create as a result of those conversations, co-create policies, processes, procedures with people. And we need to provide them with the right tools. And again, when we start to talk about remote working, people will need the right communication and collaboration tools, the right tools to support innovation. And we also need to be tracking the employee life cycle from the interview to onboarding, to the life cycle, the core of it, to the offboarding, to the alumni and onwards, and find out from employees, how do they feel at each stage of the life cycle? What is it they need, and what could we do better? So remote work. So this is the debate that is impacting every industry, not just IT service management, every industry without exception. And it's going to be critical to employee engagement, talent retention, and attraction of the talent that we need. So if IT service management wants to retain its talent and attract additional talent, to take advantage of the trends we've talked about and the disruptors that we've discussed, then it needs to take a hard look at what's becoming a major divide between employer and employee. So IT service management should be watching this trend as it gets discussed, explored, changed, because it's changing rapidly as we look at it. Because IT service management will be asked to support remote work. So we need to consider the implications such as security, home office equipment, what are the break-fix arrangements, how do I get a new laptop if I'm working from home, how do I get a new phone if I've lost it, and lots of considerations for other parts of the organisation as well, such as, HR, OH&S, finance, legal. There's lots of moving parts in this discussion. But we also need to think about how we want to influence the direction that the organisation is taking in regard to remote and hybrid work. And I'll say why we need to do that. So I'm going to share some statistics just to give you a sense of our current situation. So according to Microsoft, 73% of workers need a better reason to go into the office than just company expectations. And that's absolutely true. Employees want a reason to go into the office. And there's plenty of reasons, and I'm not anti-office, and nor are the majority of employees. But they want to be able to say at the end of the day, was that worth the commute? And if it's a yes, that's great. But if it's a no, I just had to go into the office because the company expect me to be there on a Wednesday, but I could have done exactly what I did on Wednesday at home, it makes no sense. So they want a reason. It has to be intentional. Opposed to that, according to KPMG, is 64% of global CEOs are anticipating a full return to the office 5 days a week within the next 3 years. This is CEOs banging on the 2019 button and saying, let's go back to the way it was. Because it's easier. To me, this is lazy leadership. Because if you want a truly remote working model, there are all those considerations I've just mentioned. If you're talking about remote working in multiple countries, well, where do you have a presence, a legal presence to hire people to work? What are they, as I said, the security implications, financial implications, OH&S? There's lots of moving parts, but that's not a reason not to do it. The companies that are getting this right are so far ahead of the game, it's not stupid. Just look at the likes of, Atlassian, for example, an Australian company that has a model called Team Anywhere. So this return to the office, just a knee-jerk reaction. So rather than being prepared to do the work, they're avoiding what's going to be inevitable because people want a reason to go into the office. We're past 5 days a week, 9 to 5 in offices now. Now, Australia New Zealand Bank, ANZ, staff there have been told that their bonuses will be cut if they fail to spend at least 50% of their time in the office. So I know people who work for ANZ, and one of the first things, not first things, but one of the things ANZ did was start to track badges logging coming into the office. And then what happened is we got a trend called coffee badging, where people would go into the office, swipe in, go for a coffee with the mates, and then go home. So to stop that, ANZ, like a lot of the others, talk about Commonwealth Bank, Westpac, NAB, they're all doing the same. Dell is doing the same. They are monitoring when you swipe out of the office. So you have to be there for the time dictated. And there's absolutely no reason they need to be there 50% of the time. Some weeks they might need to be there 75%. It depends on what they're doing and the work they're undertaking. Some weeks they might not need to be in at all. So it should be, I keep saying we employed adults, let them make the decision. And according to Randstad, over half of Australians would consider quitting if they're going to be forced to spend more time in the office. That's scary. And according to RMIT in Australia, 4 in 5 flexible workers want work from home flexibility, but many employers have begun demanding that return to the office. So we can see the conflict here. Employees are saying, I want flexibility, I want autonomy. And employers are saying, no, we're not going to give you that. So RMIT have termed a new term called the 2024 Flexodus. So the mass exodus from organisations due to the lack of flexibility being provided. And according to Robert Half, in Australia, nearly 9 in 10 businesses have implemented mandatory policies, return to office policies. And nearly a third of them have lost employees due to those requirements. These are the ones that can identify why employees have left. So they're implementing this mandatory policy and are losing employees as a result of it. This is just head in the sand stuff. So if we're going to lose employees, then we're going to be in big trouble, because according to Manpower Group in 2024, 75% of employees are finding it difficult to fill roles. We've got this war on talent again. And if you're going to mandate a return to the office, you're not going to be able to fill the roles because employees don't want to work for organisations that are mandating a return to the office. And if we look at the talent shortage around the world, this again is from Manpower Group 2024, we can see that Australia, 78%, above the global average of 75%. Now, Manpower didn't have any numbers for New Zealand, but I did find an EMA skills shortage survey in 2023 that found 90% of New Zealand businesses were struggling to fill vacancies. So Australia and New Zealand are struggling with the talent shortage. So it's a real consideration for the organisation, for IT service management, about which way the organisation is going to go with this, because it's going to have a direct impact on our talent and our resources and our employee engagement and our people and our digital employee experience, etc. And remote work, despite what is being said, remote work does not impact culture. Culture doesn't live in a building. And I challenge you to find any definition of culture, Google it after this, and not one of the definitions will say anything about location. Culture is about shared expectations, beliefs, values, etc. Remote work does not impact productivity. Researchers prove that productivity is just as good, if not better, when people are working remotely. But again, it should be a choice. I should be able to decide where I'm going to be most productive. Connection, collaboration, innovation, they're all things that are being thrown around as, we're not going to be able to innovate. And the recent media release about innovation came from Nike, who said they couldn't innovate because people were working remotely. And there's lots of other examples. And have a look on LinkedIn. I put a post up about all the other footwear manufacturers that have had great success during and post COVID, and employees are working remotely. So the argument does not stand up. So it's time for everybody to say why. If I'm being asked to return to the office, why? There are reasons, but it should have a purpose and it should be intentional. Okay. Organizational change management. So whatever trend it is that you respond to, from the 4 I've done a deep dive into, or any of the others on the list at the beginning of this session, whatever trend you respond to, you could be changing policy, process, procedure. You could be changing tools and technology. You could be changing roles and responsibilities. You could be changing team structure. You could be seeing a need to upskill or reskill. And all of those changes involve people. And if you want your changes to be successful, you have got to look after the people side of change. It's an imperative. And if there's no buy-in to change, it will fail. And when changes, projects, programs, whatever, don't deliver, there's then rework and there's more money and it has an impact on the bottom line. So what I want to do is just take you through some of the basic steps to manage the people side of change. And don't wait for someone else to do it. Don't say change isn't my job. It is your job. It's everybody's job. Now, I just want to dispel a myth. The myth is that people resist change. They don't. I'm a firm believer that they don't. They resist change when it's done to them. They don't resist change when it's done with them. Yes, there'll be some outliers, but generally, from my experience, many years experience, if you do change with people, they're generally on board. And when someone says, oh, the project failed because people resist change, that's just an excuse because you didn't do your job properly. What we need to do is start with why. Often when we're talking about change, we talk about what needs to change and how we're going to do it. So we could say, okay, we're going to do a digital transformation and we're going to start looking at artificial intelligence. We've told people what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, but no one said why. It's like someone saying to me, we're going to go to Sydney tomorrow. I'm driving and I'll pick you up at 8. So the person has told me what and how. We're going to Sydney and we're going in their car. But no one said why. Why would I get in the car? Got no idea why we're going. So we need to make sure that we talk about the why. Is it that we need to increase employee productivity? Therefore, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. We need to increase customer satisfaction. This is how we're going to do it. We need to beat our competitors. This is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So when you miss out on the why, it just causes concern and anxiety. I have no idea why we're doing what we're doing. And that's really dangerous. And in a lot of my workshop, I use this cartoon. You've got the people on the left of the chasm saying, come over here, and the people on the right saying, how? But no one's asked why. So before we say how, we should be saying why before we make that what looks like a fairly dangerous jump. So the 3 steps of organizational change management. Now, firstly, I just want to reinforce that this is not a linear process. We do need to prepare and get ready. We do need to manage and implement, and we do need to embed and adopt. But these 3 things are happening all the time for all the changes that we're doing. So it's a spinning eclipse, if you like. There's a different word, but yeah, you get the idea. So it's totally spinning. So let's look at prepare. So this is about getting people ready. So the first thing we do, and I've got some templates on the next slide that you'll be able to use. So who are our stakeholders? Who are they? How are they going to be impacted? Is it high, medium, or low? What's the degree of influence they have? How are we going to treat them? Such as manage them closely, keep them satisfied. And what's their position in relation to change? So are they a supporter? Are they going to block it? So important things to think about, because if you could have somebody who has a low impact, it's not going to really impact that person, but they've got a high level of influence, could be due to their position, and they're also against the change. those people need to be handled really carefully because they could take your change off track. So that's why you need to do the analysis. And we do a change impact assessment. So identifying the nature of the change. Is this a process change, a technology change, a people change, all of the above? And if it's a people change, then is it, what does that mean? Is it workload? Is it roles and responsibilities? Is it skills and capabilities? Again, degree of impact, who's going to be impacted when, how many, and capturing the future and current and future state. And this is a critical step because it allows you to inform how you're going to communicate, who you're going to communicate to, what you're going to say, when you're going to say it. It's going to influence your engagement and your training. So based on those first two steps, you can put together a communication plan, who you're going to say, what you're going to say to whom and how often and how. An engagement plan, so this is where you're actually engaging with the people, workshops, one-on-one, and that allows you to monitor where people are on the journey, if you like. And there's some templates. You can Google these: stakeholder identification and assessment, change impact assessment. They're just some examples. They're just tables. So stakeholder identification, who is it? What's their role? Where do they sit? What's the impact and influence on them? And then how you're going to treat them accordingly. And are they for or against the change? We've got similar in change impact, a description of the change, the category, the type, number of people, and then a description of current state and future state. And your communication plan, it's fairly simple. Who you're going to talk to, what you're going to say to them, where you're going to do it. Is it email? Is it on the intranet? Is it video? When you're going to do it? How often? Why? What do you expect to happen from the communication? What actions you think people should take? And who's going to be responsible for making it happen? So there's some templates for you. So we then need to do the manage. And this is where we implement. So we implement the communication plan that we put together. We implement our engagement plan. We identify any barriers. So if we're feeling that there is some barrier to the change, we need to identify what it is and what action. Now, it could be that we haven't got our messaging right, so people are a little unclear about what's going on. It could be that people haven't received their training yet, so they're a bit concerned and anxious. So we need to identify those and take action. We need to do a training needs analysis. Who needs training? In what do they need training? Where are we going to do it? How, when, and how we're going to evaluate how successful that training is. And then do the training and make sure that it's timely, that it's not too early and not too late. And check what the impact of the training is having. Is it having the desired effects? And then we need to make sure that we check that the business is ready. So do some pulse checks. Do the business feel ready to go with this change? So talk to them. Check that, yeah, we're comfortable. We've got everything we need. We've been through the testing. We've had the training. We're good to go. And then an important piece is embed. And often this gets forgotten because people can revert back to old ways of working. So we need to make sure that organizational change management ensures the change is embedded. And we need to identify if there are still pockets of resistance. Again, it could be because our messaging was wrong or our engagement didn't work. And what do we need to do? Do we need to do more training, more communication? We also need to make sure we have a handover process from what we might call hypercare or extended support into business as usual. And we must look at how effective change management was. What went well, what didn't go well, what we could do better next time. If we found there was pockets of resistance, why was that? What could we have done differently? So there are your three stages in a basic model of organizational change. Prepare people, manage the change, and then embed it. So just to summarize, and we'll go to Q&A, we've seen there's many trends that could impact you and IT service management this year and well into the future. We talked about Gen AI, the importance of to plan so that you can really leverage the power that Gen AI and LLM was bringing. Value demonstration, ask the question, is it adding value? And making sure that we address value in the eyes of our stakeholders. People, we need to have people at the center of everything that we do. And we need to be aware of whatever is happening in the organization regarding remote work, and where we can influence the change, that it will make sure that we can retain talent, we can attract talent, and we have engaged employees. And then to wrap it up, whatever trend that you look to implement, you need organizational change management to make sure that it is a successful change. They're my contact details. Please reach out if you want any more information, anything that I could help with. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I tend to live on LinkedIn. So I will now stop sharing and we can go to Q&A.
Hey, Karen, thank you for that.
Do you have any questions?
Session. Folks, we'll have the Q&A session for about a minute now. And any questions, please feel free to add it on the questions tab on the right-hand panel, and we'll take it over. And Karen, that was a very insightful session, especially about the Gen AI trend, where you mentioned that Gen AI LLM models will learn from various enterprise data, would collect from different sources, and would incorporate it into the natural language conversations that would be happening. It's pretty evident of how our enterprises software are going in that direction, including ManageEngine, where we are developing solutions in that direction. It was very interesting to see how it is very interesting to see how all that would culminate in the next few years.
Yeah. And I think it's, from what I'm seeing, I mean, I haven't looked at all the Gen AI tools or platforms. I've looked at ChatGPT, and it is learning. You can tell that it's learning. And you see some of the requests that people make of it, give me a photograph or a picture of this, and you've got people with 2 heads and 5 arms, and it's like, where's it get that data from? But, so it is learning. And there's a question from Sean, often fail when dealing with colloquialisms. Absolutely. And it's making sure that we have the right data sets. I'm not an expert in AI, Sean, so my understanding is having the right data sets, the right algorithms. If we know there's going to be, and we just need to teach the AI about what the colloquialisms are. It's about educating, it's having the right data sets. So Sean saying, yes, have a laugh, look up Scottish Lift on YouTube. So I've had some great fun with ChatGPT. I was trying to get it to draw me a picture of a roof with 3 pillars, and it was diversity, equity, and inclusion. I wanted written on each of the pillars, and we went round in circles for I don't know how long. I just went down this rabbit hole, and eventually actually said to me, maybe you need to engage a graphic designer. I was like, okay.
Wow.
It had enough of me. It says, go away.
Yeah. Man, we need to start developing that prompt engineering skill. But the more these AI tools, as they develop, we kind of start seeing that they are, they are just tools, and they are. We don't need to have that reluctance in using them. They are pretty much very powerful tools that are coming into our general workday. We're just making us more productive, making us do a lot more with a lot less time.
Yeah, and I think we need to remove one of the reasons I jumped onto ChatGPT was, what is this? What can it do? What can I use it for? And remove the fear of what it is, and recognize that it is learning currently, and it's early days, but it is absolutely powerful. It really is powerful stuff, and it will change everything that we do. So I encourage everyone to just have a go, go and play with it. You can't cause any, I mean, it is absorbing the data you're putting in, but so be careful what you feed it with.
yeah. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good trend that's actually going on. Yeah.
It's interesting times, absolutely.
Exactly. So yeah, folks, any other question? Oh, we have another question. Sriram, can you just project that question?
Yes.
So the question was, sometimes users have their own idea, thoughts on technology and say they were way as the best, but looking at data, it shows different. How do you incorporate their thoughts when initiating change? So it's about having, I would say, it's about having that conversation, and saying, this is what you believe you need. This is what the data is telling us, and having that discussion, putting it on the table and trying to come to some, most people, when they see the black and white, the data will come to the table. But it's like allowing exploration of what it is that they think, rather than just cutting it off at the pass, so that they feel they've had a say, they've been heard, that their input's been valued. And that's amazing how when someone feels, okay, you've heard me and I see what the data's saying, but at least you've heard me and you've taken it into consideration, and you can bring people on the journey. And Sean said, is it ZIA, ZAA, about 100 cases before it starts to get accurate. So, yeah, I don't know how long it takes AI to generate accurate responses. I have no idea.
Yeah, Sean. So a quick update about ZIA as well. So we are trying to, ZIA's, Karen, if you're not aware, ZIA's ManageEngine's own AI, right? So yeah, we are building our own native LLMs from Zoho, which would further reduce the time it takes to increase the accuracy, right? So yeah, we'll have more updates on that in the future, Sean. So be sure to be on the watch out for that.
Awesome.
All right. Any other questions, folks? I think we can wrap the Q&A session then. Karen, Sriram?
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Anyone's got anything post this, just reach out to me.
Yeah. So, all right. So I thank you for taking the time, and I'm so happy to be here, coordinating all this together. Thank you, Sriram. So I just want to take this time to give a quick shout out to ManageEngine, and I know many of you have already, many of you might already know it, but for the ones who aren't, I just want to give a quick shout out. So ManageEngine is the enterprise IT management solutions division of Zoho Corp. We've been in this business for over 20 years, pretty much. We were established on 2002, so it's pretty much about 22 years now. And we over these years we have been polishing our craft in developing high value IT management solutions, right? So we have a very vast R&D division which develops our own solutions for managing the entire facets of all domains of IT, right? So a quick look at all the tools. So we offer over 50 tools to manage the various facets of IT, from unified service management, where we have Service Desk Plus, our flagship IT service management platform. Then we have solutions for IAM, ITOM, analytics, security, endpoint management, low-code app development, and all of these integrate together, right? So since they're all from the same stable, they all integrate together, share data seamlessly, can build workflows easily between them. So your entire IT infrastructure management or the entire IT environment can run on ManageEngine solutions. It's that simple, right? And a quick look into Service Desk Plus. Service Desk Plus has also been in the market for quite some time now. It's been here since 2005. And as a unified service management or an IT service management platform, it's available in both on-premises and cloud solutions, right? We offer the state-of-the-art tech, such as virtual agents powered by AI and Gen AI capabilities. The trends that you saw Karen speak about, ESM, that all and having practices that are built in, these are available out of the box with Service Desk Plus. So if you'd like a demo or if you'd like to know more about Service Desk Plus, just drop an email to hello@servicedeskplus.com or just visit servicedeskplus.com. You would be able to access a 30-day free trial, or you could schedule a personalized demo, and I'd be happy to sort anything out for you. And that's about it from my side. And thank you for the time that you all of you have taken up and being here. You could have been anywhere, but you're here, and we appreciate that. And thank you, Sriram. Thank you, Karen, for your time in coordinating all this. All right. Thank you, folks. Have a great day and have a great week ahead. See you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.